As I delved into the chilling account of the exorcism of Anneliese Michel, I found myself drawn into a world of inexplicable horrors and profound spiritual turmoil. Anneliese's story is one that has captured the imagination of countless individuals, and as I recount the details of this tragic and terrifying tale, I am left both haunted and deeply intrigued by the mysteries that surround it. The year was 1975 when Anneliese Michel's life took a harrowing turn. Born on September 21, 1952, in Liebelfing, Germany, Anneliese was raised in a devoutly Catholic family. Her upbringing was marked by religious fervor and a strong belief in the power of faith to ward off evil. However, it was precisely this faith that would eventually lead Anneliese down a path fraught with darkness and despair. Anneliese's troubles began when she was just 16 years old. She started experiencing a series of disturbing symptoms, including seizures, blackouts, and an aversion to religious objects. At first, her family attributed these manifestations to various medical conditions, seeking the help of numerous doctors and specialists. However, despite extensive medical examinations, no physical ailment could explain the torment that had taken hold of Anneliese. Frustrated and desperate for answers, Anneliese and her family turned to the church for guidance. They sought the counsel of several local priests, all of whom were baffled by her condition. It was during this time that Anneliese herself became convinced that she was possessed by demons. She began to exhibit behavior that was increasingly bizarre and alarming, including speaking in languages she had never learned and displaying superhuman strength. The family's conviction that Anneliese was the victim of demonic possession led them to Father Ernst Alt, a priest with a reputation for his involvement in exorcisms. Father Alt, along with Father Arnold Renz, began to visit Anneliese regularly to assess her condition. It was during these visits that they documented her behavior and recorded the strange, guttural voices that emanated from her. The recordings, which have since become infamous, serve as eerie evidence of the profound changes that had taken place within Anneliese. As the priests and the Michel family became more convinced of Anneliese's possession, they sought the approval of the Catholic Church to perform an exorcism. However, the process of obtaining permission for such a ritual was arduous and complex. The Church typically requires rigorous scrutiny and a thorough investigation before sanctioning an exorcism, as it is considered a last resort when all medical explanations have been exhausted. In Anneliese's case, the process was expedited due to the intensity of her suffering and the persistence of her family and the priests involved. The local bishop granted permission for the exorcism to take place in 1975. It is at this point in the narrative that I am struck by the ethical and moral dilemmas surrounding the decision to proceed with an exorcism. The exorcism of Anneliese Michel took place over the course of many months, with multiple sessions held each week. The process was grueling, both physically and emotionally, for everyone involved. Anneliese's condition deteriorated further during the exorcisms, and she became emaciated and weak, surviving on little more than water and her unwavering faith. During the exorcisms, Anneliese exhibited a variety of alarming behaviors, including contorted body movements, self-inflicted injuries, and attempts to flee from the room. She would often scream and utter blasphemous phrases in languages she had no prior knowledge of. The priests continued to perform the rituals, believing that they were engaged in a spiritual battle against the demons that had taken possession of Anneliese. As the exorcisms dragged on, Anneliese's health continued to decline. She became severely malnourished and was unable to walk without assistance. Her body bore the physical scars of the relentless ordeal she had endured. It was evident that the exorcisms were taking a tremendous toll on her fragile frame, and yet the priests and her family were resolute in their belief that they were fighting a battle for her soul. Tragically, on July 1, 1976, Anneliese Michel succumbed to the physical and emotional trauma she had endured. She was just 23 years old at the time of her death. An autopsy revealed that she had died of malnutrition and dehydration, and her body weighed a mere 68 pounds at the time of her passing. The death of Anneliese Michel sent shockwaves through the community and raised profound questions about the ethics and responsibility of the church and the priests involved. The case also ignited a legal firestorm, leading to the trial of Father Ernst Alt and Father Arnold Renz, as well as Anneliese's parents, Joseph and Anna Michel. The trial that followed Anneliese's death was a complex and emotionally charged affair. The prosecution argued that the priests and Anneliese's parents had contributed to her death through neglect and the failure to seek proper medical care. The defense, on the other hand, contended that Anneliese had been genuinely possessed by demons and that the exorcisms were a last-ditch effort to save her soul. The trial culminated in a verdict that sent shockwaves through Germany and beyond. In 1978, Father Ernst Alt and Father Arnold Renz were found guilty of negligent homicide and sentenced to 6 months in jail, which was later suspended. Anneliese's parents, Joseph and Anna Michel, were also found guilty of negligent homicide and received 3 years of probation. The verdict was met with mixed reactions. Some saw it as a condemnation of the church's involvement in the tragic affair, while others believed it was a reflection of society's skepticism toward matters of faith and the supernatural. Regardless of one's perspective, the case of Anneliese Michel continues to be a subject of debate and fascination to this day. The story of Anneliese Michel raises a multitude of ethical, moral, and spiritual questions that remain unresolved. Was Anneliese genuinely possessed by demonic forces, or were her symptoms the result of a severe mental illness? Did the church act responsibly in sanctioning the exorcism, or did it exacerbate her suffering? These questions linger in the minds of those who study the case and continue to divide opinions. In the decades since Anneliese's death, her story has been the subject of numerous books, documentaries, and films. It has also sparked renewed interest in the practice of exorcism itself, leading to both increased skepticism and a resurgence of belief in the supernatural. In conclusion, The Exorcism of Anneliese Michel is a haunting and deeply unsettling tale of a young woman's descent into darkness and the profound impact it had on her, her family, and the church. It is a story that challenges our understanding of faith, mental illness, and the boundaries between the natural and the supernatural. As I reflect on the details of this tragic tale, I am left with a profound sense of unease and a lingering curiosity about the mysteries that remain hidden within the human experience. As I delve into the chilling tale of the real-life exorcism of Ronald Doe, I find myself drawn into the eerie events that transpired in the 1940s. Ronald Doe, whose real identity remains shrouded in mystery to this day, became the center of a haunting and perplexing case of alleged demonic possession that captured the attention of the world. It all began innocently enough. Roland, a young boy of about 13 years old, lived with his family in a humble home in the suburbs of Washington, D.C. Roland was described as a quiet and introverted child, deeply influenced by his devoutly religious family, who belonged to the Lutheran Church. The unsettling events began in the winter of 1949, when Roland's beloved aunt, a spiritualist, passed away. Stricken by grief, Roland and his family began to experience strange and inexplicable occurrences. It started with odd sounds in the house, bumps, thuds, and scratching noises that echoed through the walls. Initially, they attributed these phenomena to the settling of the old house or perhaps even the imagination of a grieving family. However, as time passed, the disturbances grew more pronounced and malevolent. Furniture would move on its own, objects levitated, and Roland's mattress would shake violently in the middle of the night. The family, frightened and bewildered, sought help from their local Lutheran pastor, who believed that Roland might be the victim of a malevolent force. The pastor arranged for a series of prayer sessions and blessings, but the manifestations only intensified. It was during one of these sessions that Roland's family began to notice peculiar changes in him. His demeanor shifted dramatically, and he started speaking in a guttural and otherworldly voice, uttering obscenities and blasphemous statements that were completely out of character. Roland's body would contort in unnatural ways, and he displayed an incredible strength that belied his age and stature. Convinced that they were dealing with a force beyond their understanding, Roland's family decided to seek the help of medical professionals. They took him to several doctors and psychiatrists, but none could provide a satisfactory explanation for his condition. Physical and psychological tests failed to reveal any underlying medical or psychological disorder. Roland's family was left with a growing sense of desperation and terror as they watched their beloved boy succumb to what appeared to be demonic possession. Word of Roland's plight reached the Catholic Church, and Father William Bowdern, a local priest, took an interest in the case. Father Bowdern, along with Father Walter Halloran and Father Raymond Bishop, embarked on a journey to understand and, if possible, exorcise the malevolent entity that seemed to have taken hold of Roland. The church began a lengthy process of investigation and consultation. They interviewed witnesses, including Roland's family and those who had witnessed the bizarre occurrences in the house. The testimonies painted a disturbing picture of a young boy seemingly tormented by supernatural forces. Father Bowdern and his team eventually concluded that an exorcism was the only option left to save Roland from this apparent demonic possession. The exorcism ritual took place at Georgetown University Hospital, a decision made to ensure the safety and privacy of Roland and those involved. The exorcism was anything but straightforward, as the malevolent entity within Roland put up a formidable fight. The possessed boy exhibited extraordinary strength, an aversion to religious symbols and prayers, and the ability to spew obscenities and even predict the priest's personal secrets. Days turned into weeks as the exorcism continued, with Father Bowdern and his team battling the entity, trying to force it to reveal its name, which is believed to be a crucial step in successfully exorcising a demon. During these grueling sessions, the priests observed Roland's body bearing inexplicable markings and burns, adding to the eerie and horrifying nature of the case. As the ordeal dragged on, the young boy's physical and mental health deteriorated. He became emaciated, exhausted, and mentally drained. The priests, too, were feeling the strain, but their determination to rid Roland of the malevolent presence kept them going. They performed the exorcism rituals daily, reciting prayers, sprinkling holy water, and commanding the entity to depart in the name of Christ. Finally, after several weeks of relentless struggle, there came a breakthrough. The entity within Roland revealed its name to be Legion, a reference to the biblical account in the Gospel of Mark where Jesus exorcises a demon from a possessed man who responds by saying, "My name is Legion, for we are many with the demon's name known." The priests intensified their efforts to expel it. The climax of the exorcism occurred on Easter Monday in 1949. Roland, under the influence of the entity, went into violent convulsions, and the priests feared for his life. They continued the ritual despite the intensifying struggle, and finally, after hours of relentless exorcism, Roland's body went limp and he fell into a deep slumber. When he awoke, he had no memory of the harrowing ordeal he had endured over the past weeks. It was as if the dark presence that had tormented him had finally been cast out. Roland's physical health began to improve, and his family rejoiced at his miraculous recovery. The case of Ronald Doe, as it came to be known, made headlines and stirred up considerable controversy. While many believed it to be a genuine case of possession and exorcism, skeptics argued that Roland's behavior could have been the result of psychological issues or even a hoax perpetuated by his family. To this day, the true nature of the events remains a subject of debate. As for Ronald himself, he went on to lead a relatively normal life, keeping his identity hidden from the public eye. He married, had children, and led a quiet existence far removed from the horrors of his youth. He rarely spoke about the events of 1949 and maintained his privacy until his passing. The story of Ronald Doe, the real-life exorcism, has left an indelible mark on the annals of paranormal and religious history. It serves as a testament to the enduring human fascination with the supernatural and the eternal struggle between good and evil. Whether one believes in the authenticity of the case or not, Roland's ordeal remains a chilling and perplexing chapter in the ongoing exploration of the unknown. As I delve into the enigmatic and chilling case of Arne Cheyenne Johnson, I am transported back to the harrowing events of 1981, where I must attempt to unravel the mystery that gripped a small Connecticut town. This case, often referred to as the Devil Made Me Do It case, involved an alleged possession, a brutal murder, and a courtroom battle that pushed the boundaries of our understanding of the supernatural and its intersection with the legal system. The story began innocuously enough in Brookfield, Connecticut. Arne Cheyenne Johnson and his girlfriend, Debbie Glatzel, were living a quiet life in their rental property, along with Debbie's younger brother, David. The Glatzel family was deeply religious, and their faith would soon become central to the events that unfolded. It all started when David Glatzel began experiencing disturbing visions and night terrors. According to reports, he claimed to have seen a terrifying old man who tormented him relentlessly. As the days passed, David's behavior became increasingly erratic. He would growl like an animal, speak in languages he had never learned, and exhibit superhuman strength. The Glatzel family, naturally concerned for David's well-being, sought the help of a local couple, Ed and Lorraine Warren. The Warrens were renowned paranormal investigators, famous for their work on cases like the Amityville Horror. They believed that David Glatzel was not merely suffering from psychological issues, but was instead under the influence of a malevolent entity. This belief set the stage for a series of events that would ultimately lead to a shocking murder trial. The Warrens, along with a Catholic priest named Father Virgil, performed a series of exorcisms on David. These intense rituals were meant to drive out the evil spirit they believed had possessed him. During one of these sessions, Arne Johnson reportedly taunted the demon to leave David and possess him. Instead, it was a fateful challenge that would alter the course of their lives forever. Soon after this provocative act, Arne Johnson's behavior began to change dramatically. He started to exhibit bizarre and violent tendencies, mirroring the disturbing behavior that had plagued young David Glatzel. This sudden transformation was deeply unsettling to those who knew him. His family and friends couldn't make sense of the drastic shift in his personality. Tragically, the situation escalated to a horrifying climax in February 1981. Arne Johnson, under the grip of an unknown force, allegedly committed a gruesome murder. He brutally stabbed his landlord, Alan Bono, multiple times during a heated argument. The murder occurred in a local dog kennel where both Johnson and Bono worked. Arne Johnson's defense attorney, Martin Minella, concocted a unique and audacious defense strategy. He claimed that Arne Johnson was not responsible for the murder, as he was under the influence of demonic possession at the time of the crime. "The devil made me do it" defense was born, setting the stage for an unprecedented legal battle. The trial that followed was a sensational media spectacle. It marked the first time in U.S. legal history that the defense sought to prove the existence of demonic possession as a means of exonerating the defendant. The courtroom was packed with reporters, curious onlookers, and those fascinated by the intersection of the supernatural and the legal system. The prosecution, led by State's Attorney Walter Lewis, vehemently opposed the defense's supernatural claims. They argued that there was no concrete evidence to support the existence of demons or possession, and that Johnson was fully responsible for his actions on the day of the murder. The case was further complicated by the fact that there were no eyewitnesses to the murder itself, and an intriguing twist: the defense called upon the Warrens to testify as expert witnesses. Ed and Lorraine Warren claimed that they had witnessed Arne Johnson's bizarre and violent behavior firsthand during their exorcism sessions with David Glatzel. They argued that this behavior was consistent with possession and that it had somehow transferred from David to Arne. Despite the sensational nature of the case, the judge presiding over the trial, Judge Robert Callahan, ultimately ruled against allowing the demonic possession defense. He argued that such a defense was not admissible under U.S. law, as there was no scientific basis for the existence of demons or possession. The trial proceeded with a more conventional defense, arguing self-defense, but it was a challenging uphill battle. Arne Johnson was convicted of first-degree manslaughter and sentenced to 20 years in prison. The jury concluded that while he may not have been fully possessed, he was still responsible for his actions on that fateful day. The case of Arne Cheyenne Johnson is a haunting enigma that continues to intrigue and bewilder to this day. Was Arne truly possessed by a malevolent entity, or was there another explanation for his violent behavior? The intersection of supernatural beliefs, legal proceedings, and the quest for justice created a complex and divisive narrative. Some see this case as a missed opportunity to explore the supernatural within the legal system, while others view it as a cautionary tale of the dangers of blending faith, superstition, and the pursuit of justice. Regardless of one's perspective, the case of Arne Cheyenne Johnson remains an enduring and unsettling mystery that reminds us of the thin line between the realms of the natural and the supernatural.